Hello and welcome to the Voice of Todd. I'm Tom, and today in this video I'm going to go over my thoughts of The Mandalorian Season 2 Episode 2. This one's called Chapter 10, The Passenger. Figured I'd just run through it, and at the end I'll leave my thoughts. Obviously this contains spoilers. If you haven't seen it, I probably wouldn't watch this. So, building on last week's season opener, which I thought was great. Really did feel that episode 1 was setting the main story on its course. This feels more like a side quest. That feeling plagued the first series for me. But we start with Mandalorian on his speeder bike with the child, and he gets ambushed by a group of bounty hunters who are after the child and obviously to kill the Mandalorian. I don't know, he always seems to get ambushed. He doesn't seem like the smartest guy in the Star Wars universe. But it's good to see that he's now a wanted man following his actions in Season 1, and that there are still people after the child who are doing the bidding of Moff Gideon and bringing in bounty hunters or whatever they can to try and track him down. That's a nice little touch. As they sort of flip the speeder bike, sends the Mando flying, and he actually catches himself and sets himself down on the ground with a jetpack, which was a cool little touch. This fight scene, I think there's 3 of them going close combat with the Mando while one of them's trying to get the child. Really good choreography. Again, this season seems to have stepped up in that department, which is really nice. The fighting just feels much more physical. But as he's sort of fighting them off, he manages to take out the 3 of them, but the 4th one manages to grab the child and has a knife to the child's throat. And he sort of goes into a protective father stance and says, "Take what you want, give me the child, we'll walk away, that'll be it," kind of thing. So this bounty hunter wants Mandalorian's jetpack, which the Mandalorian obviously gives him. There was a little shot of this hunter, and he's only like a 3-foot, I don't know what race he is, but he's Jawa-esque. He looks over at Boba Fett's helmet. I don't know if they're foreshadowing something there or what, but he takes Mando's fully working jetpack and runs off, at which point Mandalorian uses the wrist control on his gauntlet to shoot the rocket back into the air, at which point the bounty hunter lets go and gravity does the rest, which was pretty cool to see. It was quite a nice little sequence. So then he picks up all his stuff. He's got no bike, so he carries everything back to port, where we bump into the mechanic again and Dr. Mandibles, who is an alien that we've seen in the series before. He's basically just a giant ant. Could be a nod to Ant-Man and his giant ant in those films, because this one was directed by Peyton Reed, who did both Ant-Man films. So there could be a little bit of connectivity there. But the mechanic was on form again, very fun. But she's great. She has some of the best lines. She's a real grifter. I don't think we should trust her character yet. Maybe she tipped off these bounty hunters for a bit of extra credits or something. Maybe. I don't know. But she's talks Mando into paying the ant's stake in the betting, and then cleans out the ant in their game of Pazak, I think they're playing. That might just be a KOTOR thing that I'm going to, and I can't remember what it's called. But it's pretty cool, nice little bit of interplay. It does feel like this is a living world, and other characters are actually doing things instead of waiting for Mando to show up. They seem to really be building on this post-Return of the Jedi feel that things are going on, but everybody's just trying to get by. And these little bits of interaction do build the characters and the surrounding characters and the extras popping in and out of the episodes. So I quite like that. It's a nice little sequence in the cantina. We then, on his quest to find another Mandalorian, this alien guy, Dr. Mandibles, knows where there is a group of Mandalorians, and because Mando covered his stake in the betting, he shares that information with them, which leads us to the character who this episode is titled on, the Passenger. Crazy frog-like humanoid frog creature. She is trying to get to her husband, who is on a different planet. because it's the last eggs of her cycle, and she and her husband want to raise a family on this planet that he's found because it's safe for them to do so. So we get on to loading up the ship and them going off. We can't go at hyperspeed because that would damage the eggs, apparently. Which sets up some nice little interactions with the two resistance fighters. Oh, I guess there's still rebellion fighters that show up in X-Wings, one of them being Dave Filoni's character from last season, which is nice. Again, nice little bit of continuity. They're quizzing Mando when they find him about his ship and why he's not got a certain system working, some sort of transponder that they can use to track him and make sure he's not Empire while they're out here looking for holdouts. While this is going on, the child is getting into the big tank of eggs and is eating them like a little shit, that he continues to be throughout this entire episode. The X-Wings are quizzing Mando, and he's trying to get away from them. Then they start talking about the prison break that happened in last season, which is probably one of the better episodes of last season. Quite a few nods to that episode in this. But Mando, not wanting to face charges or even answer any questions to these guys, decides to try and lose them in the atmosphere of a nearby planet, the Ice Fishers. It's obviously an ice planet. And ends up landing in a cavern to try and wait them out as they fly past. But the ice underfoot, I guess, under ship, isn't strong enough to take the weight of the Razor Crest, and it tumbles into a deeper cavern, pretty much destroying parts of the ship. I mean, the Razor Crest is absolutely battered in this. I think by this point you find the child again, or Mando goes to check on the passenger's eggs, and the child, and finds that there's only about 4 eggs left in the tank, and the child's eaten the others. This is a recurring thing in this episode. Mando's constantly telling the child to not eat these things, and all the child is doing is eating these bloody things. For me, it got a bit repetitive, but it works, it makes sense. The mentality of a child is there. You know, you tell it no and it will just keep doing things. It is quite amusing that we're at the point where the child is just a little shit now. I will see how Mando deals with that maybe later in the season, who knows. But at this point the ship is just knackered. Absolutely knackered. It's not going to fly anywhere. The passenger kicks off a little bit and rewires the droid, the old bounty hunter from the Prison Break episode last season, to be her voice, to translate, because the Mando can't understand her language. The droid is voiced by Richard Ayoade, which is a nice touch again. It's always great when he pops up in things. But he sort of is goaded into helping her and fixing the ship and trying to get off the planet to get her to her husband in time for him to fertilize these eggs. When she brings up the Mandalorian code, and that Mandalorians were supposed to be honourable, which it doesn't seem like they have been post-Clone Wars, but it seems to be building into that mentality and that philosophy in this series as well, and it's maybe a little nod to where we're heading in the next few episodes. But we are now crashed on this planet. There's a huge hole in the side of the ship, the engines aren't working, so Mandalorian walks out of the giant hole in the ship to try and repair what he can and get them flying. And that shot where he steps out and there's just this wide shot of him standing there with the ship and then ice. It's this thick ice cavern all around him. Just stunning. And the music again in this episode is phenomenal. It's so good. Some of the best music in TV, I think. They've just really nailed that Star Wars adjacent feel for this. So it's all going pretty badly so far in this episode. He's trying to repair the ship, the passenger walks off, finds a hot spring and starts popping more eggs out. You've got to replenish the ones that the child's eating, right? So Mando finds her, he uses his heat vision on his visor. But they go off, they find her in this spring, and they start collecting the eggs that she's spawning. And at this point, after being told no, after trying to pick up an egg again, the child wanders off and finds some eggs of a different kind. Little side note, as this episode is going on since they've landed in the ice planet, the ice is slowly starting to build up more and more on Mando's armour. It's a really nice touch for people like me who are looking out for continuity and little bits that can build on how real this world is. But the child wanders off and finds an egg, cracks it open, which opens fairly easily, and eats the contents. Now, when he's been eating the passengers' eggs, he's just been swallowing them whole. This creature that he eats here, he chews. Something I picked up on, I don't know if it means anything, but it was just very different. No, it's like, you could maybe put it to, you'd chew meat, but you wouldn't chew jelly, or something like that. Maybe it's that simple. A bit weird. I didn't think I'd go down this route on this. But it just struck me as odd that he isn't chewing these eggs, or he's just swallowing them whole. But it turns out this creature that he's chewing on is a baby spider that is in a field of eggs, very reminiscent of Alien. And that's where this episode starts to get really creepy. The music shifts in tone as well. As having opened this egg, all the other eggs, and there's got to be hundreds of them in this cavern, start to crack open and baby spiders start to crawl out. At this point, the child freaks out, as any child would, and runs back to Mando making noises. Mando, having gathered up all of the passengers' eggs now, puts them in the tank that she carries with her to keep them safe, turns around and sees the child running at him with an army of baby spiders behind it. And then more spiders show up, and bigger spiders show up, big enough to freak you out. And then rounding the cavern at the far side of this big area is what I would guess the matriarch spider, and it's just a huge spider. These spiders are really cool design. It looks like, I did a little bit of digging online, and it looks like they're an old design from Ralph and Quarry in Empire Strikes Back. So inspiration for this is going back to the original films that it's set as close to as anything else. Really cool that they're bringing this stuff in. Ralph McQuarrie's art is stunning for Star Wars. He really is the person who made this art style for Star Wars so distinctive. So who knows what else we'll be getting as we go through these series. I don't know how many series they're going to be shooting, but if they're pulling inspiration from stuff like that, then it's going to be good. So we're at the point where they're now running for their lives from this army of spiders that is trying to get them. Obviously, the child has disturbed them, and when one egg opens, all the others seem to hatch at the same time. It just so happens they were ready to hatch anyway. But it really turns into like an 80s horror, like a kind of The Thing style craziness. And it was actually quite stressful to see them just skittering around and everywhere and just piling up like zombies in World War Z. If you don't like spiders, this is not an episode for you. I watched it twice and they freaked me out just as much the second time. And I don't generally mind spiders, but these things are just rows of teeth and skittering and yeah, just freaky. The movement for the spiders, how they swarmed, how they moved, the sounds they made, it was all fantastic. Really top design. And they're just swarming everywhere, filling the cavern while Mando, the passenger, and the child are trying to get away. As we're trying to get back to the ship, Mando's using a variety of his different weapons. We've got the blaster, we've got the flamethrower on his gauntlets, we've got he uses grenades. Just everything, just trying to get away. Really cool to see when he's using his equipment. It's cool. It's like James Bond when he uses the spy equipment. It's just cool little things. you don't get with Jedi because they don't have this stuff. So I like seeing that. I think that's cool. And wrist flamethrowers are freaking awesome. But they get back to the ship, and these spiders are just filling up the ship, so they end up locking themselves in the cockpit. A couple of them get in, one of them tries to get Baby Yoda, and the passenger shoots them off. She's a pretty good shot for a frog. Don't know if that has any bearing on anything, but yeah, she's a really good shot. Sniping spiders from Baby Yoda's head with a tiny little pistol. But they're just trying to get away. They get in the cockpit. Mando fires up the jets, try and get the ship off the ground and away, as the giant spider just lands on top, smashes the glass of the cockpit, the canopy, and is just trying to get at them. It's just mad. There's so much going on. You hear blaster fire, the screen sort of flashes red, your camera angle is in the cockpit looking at what's going on with this giant spider. And there's just flashes everywhere, the distinctive sounds of a Star Wars blaster. Things start to quieten down. Mando goes outside to find out what's going on. Inside of the ship is just covered in webs. The ship is just inside and out. It's just knackered. But he steps outside to find the two X-Wing pilots sat in their X-Wings just taking pot shots at the spiders as they're crawling over the ship. They have a little bit of a chat. It just ties back to him in that episode again, the Prison Break episode. But they have a chat with him and say, look, we know what you did. We know you risked your life to save one of the officers there, Republic officer. We're willing to let it slide on your arrest warrant. And then they fly off, leaving him to fix the ship, which he does enough to be able to seal the cockpit so it's pressure sealed, and they limp off at probably half speed, sublight, to the planet that they were trying to get to when they left Tatooine. This planet, interestingly, is called Trask. There is a character you meet in Knights of the Old Republic called Trask Ulgo. The first person you meet when you wake up in the first game. I don't know if it is a little nod to KOTOR again, if we're going hard on the KOTOR references, but to me it is, because that's the only time I'd know anything called Trask. But we're heading towards, it seems, this planet where there's other Mandalorians, and who knows what we'll find. So that's the episode, really. It's a shorter one. It's maybe 40 minutes, 35-40 minutes. It's very much a side quest. It's pretty standalone. It does tie in. There's links to other episodes and little bits and nods to things, which is cool. But it doesn't feel like this is really going to advance the story in a huge way. But it didn't feel like a drag. I was entertained watching it. The spiders were fantastic. The interplay with the X-Wing pilots was good. It's always nice to see Dave Filoni in these things. And I thought Peyton Reed did a fantastic job directing this. Really solid episode. Really solid. I think this series is feeling a lot more fleshed out and interesting. Definitely is for me. I like that it's flowing more with the episodes before, and it's linking in stuff from the first season. I suppose the scope of it and it being season 2 means that you can do that. But it works really well. I like the continuity. The music is just incredible. Absolutely fantastic. I'm really impressed with the music with this. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this season. I'm back enjoying Star Wars again, which is really cool. And I think that's down to Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni and them just being Star Wars fans. And it really feels that they are just diving through the lore and they know the characters and they know where it's going and how to make the world feel real and exciting again, which is fantastic. I'm really looking forward to the next episode now, and this series continues to go like this. Keep entertaining. It could be one of the best things out there to watch, which I don't think season 1 was. But no, this is a very good episode, standalone-ish, but I really enjoyed it, and yeah, Really good, because it is going from strength to strength. And that's where I'm going to leave this one. This is only meant to be quick videos, and I'll leave it there. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.